Hello, welcome back to our cricket podcast. It feels like it's been a matter of minutes, Joe, since we last recorded one of these, but it's been a busy weekend, isn't it? How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Dan. All the better for the win yesterday, and obviously joining you in the comms box for the first time this season. Actually, it was good fun. Yeah, it feels like it was really soon since we recorded with Josh, wasn't it, last week? But yeah, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm pretty knackered. I've literally just walked back in the door from a double header on commentary yesterday, and I think I've got the rest of today at home. I go to London tomorrow. I'm come back on Wednesday. I go back to London on Thursday. Then I'm back to Northampton on Friday, and then playing cricket again on Saturday. So yeah, I think I'm just about keeping up with where I'm meant to be and when I'm meant to be there.
Yeah, your. I know we mention it a lot, but your schedule is literally like as busy as ours is. So there's no rest for the wicked, is there? But you're doing a grand job on the comms. Good that you get to don the whites again at the weekend as
I
well.
can't wait.
I look forward to hearing about that
Snick
as
off
well.
first ball. Having driven all the way back Saturday morning from Northampton, literally jump out the car, get padded up, snick off, and then sit around for the rest of the day thinking about or questioning my life choices. I think would probably be what's going to happen. But Joe, we're not on our own again today.
We're not. We've got another guest, second guest of the Our Cricket podcast, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome on my Sunrisers teammate, England under-19 cricketer, Sunrisers 2023 Player of the Year, JODI GREWCOCK. How are you, Bizzle?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you guys?
I'm well. I want to know. I've got a question straight away, and I want to know the story behind Bizzle.
Well, to be fair, everyone asks this because Jodie, Bizzle, like, there's not really correlation and stuff. But basically in the academy, they said, you need a nickname, and one of the coaches just goes, J Bizzle. And then it just kind of stuck from there. Came into the seniors. Now it's Biz, Bizzle, Bizzler. Like, they're all coming out. But yeah, there's not too much behind it. It just stuck one day, and here we are.
They're the best nicknames, aren't they? The ones that don't really have a story behind them, that just kind of go, oh, I inherited it like 5 years ago and just can't shake it since. At least there's no kind of really kind of dodgy story behind it, that you've kind of done something kind of horrendously embarrassing in your past that you can't shake. At least it's not one of those.
Yeah, it's not, to be fair. Yeah, don't mind it.
Yeah, I think it's got a great ring to it. J Biz.
It does, to be fair.
Snappy.
Are you just Joe? Is there a bit of inside? Maybe I should just ask Jodie this. What's Joe's kind of nickname on the field?
To be fair, Joey, Joey G. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's pretty boring. It's
pretty
Joey or Joey
anyway.
G, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the job.
Absolutely.
Does the job.
Could be in the market for a new nickname.
We spoke, didn't we, at the start of the podcast about the Sunrisers win yesterday. No better kind of chance to have a chat through that game, last game at Northants for you two as Sunrisers, and signing off with a last ball win against the Diamonds.
Yeah, definitely. So nice to win at Northants, finally. The home of cricket, Wantage Road. Yeah, good feeling, but a very tense game.
Yeah, it was a little bit too close for comfort, wasn't it? I mean, probably not helped by me chewing it a bit in the power play, but Scrivs batted all the way through and got us over the line. You had a really big part to play as well, actually, getting like 20 off like 14 balls or whatever it was, just swinging the momentum back into kind of our hands going into the back end before Flo was there to join Scrivs at the end. So yeah, that must have been good. You were striking them real nice. Did you feel good when you were out there?
Yeah, I did, to be fair. Before I went in, I was quite nervous on the bench. And then as soon as I walked out, I felt like just so clear. I was just like, wherever they put the fielder up, I'm just hitting it there. But yeah, I think, to be fair, I'm feeling in a really good place. And yeah, hitting them well, to be fair.
I guess something, Joe, that you're obviously kind of learning pretty quickly about batting at the top of the order is quite a significant role change to what you've had in the past. And Jodie, you've just said about that kind of mindset that you walked out there with. At that point in the game, the plan's quite clear, isn't it? Like we need runs, we need them quite quickly, and let's target the gaps. Let's kind of hit the ball over the head of those fielders that are in. But Joe, what's it been like? I know we spoke before, didn't we, last week, and we said things are going well. And then obviously I've done a little bit more research in the prep to this. And as it stands, you're the second leading run scorer in the Charlotte Edwards Cup, striking at like 108 with an average of 44 and the joint highest score in the competition. Bit of a role change. Are you settling into it nicely?
Yeah, it is. I'm really enjoying batting at the top. It's been it's something that I really wanted to do and give myself an opportunity to have a go at, but I wasn't sure whether or not like the coaching staff and Scriv would actually back me to go and do it. I sort of did it in one of the warm-up games we had, but I feel like they were a little bit torn between, I think it was myself and Maddie who was going to have the opportunity to open with Scriv, and then they asked me the night before the first game, and I thought, I've got to take this opportunity that they're giving me to do it. Like I've been kind of wanting to have a go at it. Like what better chance? And yeah, it's been okay. I feel like I said to you yesterday, like I'm still very much learning it. And it's slightly different. Just trying to play to my strengths with hitting as many boundaries as possible. But I don't really feel like I've been as fluent as I could see myself being, which might sound a bit weird considering like the stats that you mentioned, but I feel like I could be a bit more powerful. Like that strike rate doesn't particularly excite me, so I feel like I need to round that up a little bit. But as I said, I'm still kind of learning on the job, and I wasn't going into the Charlotte Edwards Cup or the season thinking that I was going to be opening the batting, so I've kind of just had to adapt on the fly a little bit. But again, it's something that I am really enjoying, and just trying to learn as much as possible and take into our next few games.
How do you reckon she's getting on, Jodie?
I reckon she's doing all right, you know. I think it's like really, for me, it's really nice to see you take on that role and, like you said, just learning constantly, and you know that you're still learning, and I think you're doing well so far. You can always be better, but we still got a few more games.
Thanks, mate.
Sunrise is what, 6th in the table, having played 5, won 2, lost 3, 8 points. 4 qualify for the finals in the Charlotte Edwards Cup, and actually it's pretty close. I mean, the Blaze and the Stars look like they've got a bit of separation, but from the Sparks pretty much down to the Storm, there's 6 points that separate the 5 teams, so still loads to play for.
Yeah, massively. Big couple games coming up, notably at Lord's this week, which is something that all of us always get super excited about, having played there last year against the Stars as well, actually. We were on the losing side last year, but it's always an honour and a privilege to be able to step out at Lord's. Jodie, will it be your first professional game at Lord's this week?
Yeah, it will be. I played like that friendly 2 years ago now, but yeah, first professional game there. So really exciting.
Trip down the M1 to HQ. Does it get any better? We've got loads of questions for you, Jodie, to kind of run through. Joe's been big on the preparation for the guests, which has been really good. The Blast has started. That's had 5 days worth of cricket into it now, and pretty much every team I think has played at least 3 times. Northants, the local team for you two and kind of my adopted county, have started pretty well, with some good signings and some good performances. Anybody or anything across the country has kind of stood out for you guys? I will say that captaining Ravi Bopara on the cricket draft has turned out to be a masterstroke. I think he's got about 1,000 of my 2,000 points.
Yeah, I reckon our captaincy choices. I captain David Willey, and he's not gone too badly either. So I reckon they're probably 2 of the better choices that anyone could have chosen. Yeah, obviously yesterday was a little bit disappointing, wasn't it, against Yorkshire? But I think we mentioned on commentary, Jordan Thompson had a bit of a day out and kind of put in such an all-round match-winning performance for Yorkshire, but Steelbacks have started pretty strongly. I feel like the signings that they've brought in to kind of rebalance the bowling lineup a bit more, which is something that they'd struggled with in the past few seasons, is going to give them a really big chance of getting one of the top 4 playoff spots for a quarter-final. So it's going to be exciting to see how they get on. And obviously, I think in that South group, every time I see like Surrey card their lineup, I'm like, what? Like, how is that a thing? It's just an absolute joke, isn't it? Jamie Smith's obviously been striking them pretty well as well, I've seen. And Michael Pepper got 100 yesterday, didn't he? Like the first one of the tournament. Middlesex probably would have been a bit sickened by the fact that they posted 200 and lost, which, yeah, you always think you're going to have a pretty decent chance of winning if you get like 203 or whatever it was they got. But yeah, 6 came out on top in that one.
Jodie, anybody that's kind of taken your eye so far in the Blast?
To be fair, Ravi Bopara, I can't get past him. I can't believe he's at Northants. Even yesterday, he was doing all right, striking them all right. Took 4th in the end. Yeah, up the Northants.
Hopefully there's a trip to finals day for us. That would be good. There's also another T20 competition going on at the moment. I think they happen like every 6 months, so the novelty of these kind of wear off quite quick, but it's something to do a World Cup, and it's in the States and in the Caribbean. The USA won a game of cricket, the first one, which was pretty exciting, actually. Aaron Jones, who scored the match-winning 92. I was playing warehouse baseball cricket with him in New Jersey earlier this year. Which was
one of the ones you were playing
which
with.
was pretty cool to kind of watch the highlights back. I didn't get to watch it live because I think it kicked off at about 1:30 in the morning, didn't it, UK time? And I don't get much chance to sleep, but 1:30 in the morning is the right time to do it. The West Indies won in Guyana, and England play on Tuesday against Scotland. I love the fact that like this has been expanded to include more teams.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Seeing some of the nations that you wouldn't necessarily see on such a global stage is obviously brilliant for those nations you talk about. There was a bit of a thriller, wasn't there? I think it was like overnight Namibia in a super over against Oman. David Visa, obviously played quite a big part down at Sussex over the years, hasn't he? And he was at Yorkshire striking them well last year. Proper season performer, getting Namibia over the line. Scoring a load of runs in that super over. Yeah, you got like Namibia, Oman, Papua New Guinea, Nepal. Actually, do you know what? Seeing like Netherlands, Scotland and Ireland all in the same tournament seems like it's a good thing for cricket, because you always seem like it's one of those that tends to miss out, and it can be a bit sad in those parts when they don't quite make it to one of these tournaments. But yeah, you feel like there will be a couple of upsets on the cards as well. I think West Indies had a bit of a scare, didn't they, in their game? So that would have been interesting as the hosts if they'd have gone down. But they got themselves over the line. So yeah, it's I guess it adds a little bit of a difference point, doesn't it? Rather than seeing the top nations playing all the time, which hopefully is good for the sport, and I guess good for the USA as well, in that they're getting a bit of airtime to showcase how they can, I guess, put cricket on a bit of a platform over there.
Yeah, I think it feels like if cricket can crack the United States, that feels like a massive advancement in the sport and kind of the global fandom of it. But the proof will be in the pudding for it. A great time to ask an England cricketer about her opinions with regards to the England team in the World Cup. Fancy England's chances, reigning champions, defending the crown. I don't know whether it would be the first time anybody has successfully defended or not, but what do you think?
Yeah, I reckon we've got a good shot. I think the team's good. We're just a couple of the other nations are pretty good as well. But we'll see. I think in World Cup cricket, like, anything can happen. There's always an upset, and yeah, I'm looking forward to watching. And yeah, it's always an exciting tournament to watch, and just always so much going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, buckle up, Jodie, because Joe's got a hell of a lot of questions here to run through. Prepare to be grilled, prepare to be interrogated. And
Nice.
yeah, Joe, kick us off. Get going with the early days.
Yeah, so I guess my kind of first introduction to Jodie would have been when I don't know if I would have been helping with a bit of assistant coaching in the Northants pathway, and then seeing this little youngster, probably about 10 or 11 years old, like just being an absolute kind of standout performer amongst her peers at training sessions. And it was always, whenever you'd get updates of like how age group cricket had gone, it was always like Jodie scored however many runs, another 60 odd, like batted all the way through, like just absolutely loves batting. So yeah, I guess how did you get into cricket first and foremost, and then kind of your transition from just getting into the sport into the Northants pathway?
Yeah, so in terms of how I actually got into the sport, my dad just played local like club cricket Wednesday nights midweek, and I just go along and just playing like at the side of the pitch like with a little quick cricket set. And yeah, just kind of fell in love with it from there. And then in terms of Northants, it was actually like just by chance. I went to a summer camp down at the county ground, and one of the coaches saw me. I think I was one of 2 girls there, and he said, "We're starting up an under 11s. Just like come down, give it a go." So I went down. This was probably 3 weeks after. And it was like the first year under 11, so everyone got selected. And yeah, just went from there. Went all the way through the age groups, and yeah, loved it in the pathway.
I guess like we've said, England under 19 cricketer. You're of no age at the moment at all. And I've spoken to Joe about how much women's cricket has changed in what's been like a short career for Joe so far. But how much has it changed from, as you said, I went to a summer camp and there were 2 girls there, to what cricket now looks like in June 2024?
Yeah, so much. Like, to think most of my childhood I played in boys teams, and now there's like all girls teams at most clubs. And yeah, and also like obviously the domestic setup, and like actually having professional contracts in the game. Like, still, even I probably didn't think that was a thing till probably about 16, 17, when they actually Sunrisers like set up. But yeah, it's like really exciting, and there's so much opportunity for like young girls. Like, even at the game yesterday, there were so many of like the young Northants girls, and it was so nice to see like them supporting us as Sunrisers, and like they understand the whole setup and can see a career in that.
Yeah, I guess that whole like role model side of it, we as players don't necessarily always think about that and it being at the forefront of our minds. But as you mentioned, like yesterday, seeing all those young girls, I guess that's when the penny kind of drops, that you're like, oh, actually, I have got a bit of like a stewardshipy type role to play, because they've come along, they've got the merchandise, and yeah, they're in their Sunrisers bucket hats or whatever it is, cheering us on in what was a really good game. And we're kind of, I guess, inadvertently part of their kind of inspiration for wanting to get involved and stay in the sport, and showing that you can have a career in being a full-time pro, which, as you mentioned, wasn't really a thing until about 5 years ago, was it?
No. Yeah, definitely. And even at the game yesterday, like I said, there was like a good crowd, and you just saw like lots of families and kids, and it was nice to see. Like you said, we don't really notice that side of the game. So yeah, it was good.
I guess when you're kind of directly in it, it potentially is quite difficult to take a step back and then kind of see actually kind of how much things have changed in such a short period of time. Obviously, the both of you are so focused on the day to day and kind of getting better and training and being ready for the next game, that actually, until you maybe get asked that question, you don't really get an opportunity to kind of take a little step back and go, oh yeah, like that has changed so much in such a short period of time. How about the first contract? You said it was what, 16, 17 that you kind of felt that was an option, that it was going to be kind of, okay, something could happen here. Signed that first one, or was awarded that first one back in February kind of 2023. Couple of months left at school at that stage as well. At that age there, you're kind of looking ahead and you're thinking, oh, am I going to be a professional cricketer? Do I do uni instead? Do I do uni as well? How was that? What was the thought process? What was the decision-making process like?
So I kind of thought, like, we obviously knew we had contract like decisions. We knew that there was 2 being offered out. And I'd kind of thought about, like, I might get it, I might not. Like, I'd already applied to uni, so I always had that as like my plan B. And then like when I actually got offered it, it was like almost as if it took a pressure off school. Like, I still knew I wanted to do the best I could in my A levels, but I now had this professional contract, so I decided that I wasn't going to go to uni that year and just kind of put everything into cricket. And I always had uni as a backup. But yeah, it was like such a unreal feeling, like to actually sign and be like, I'm a professional cricketer. And yeah, and like you said, I still had a couple months left of school. But yeah.
Yeah, that must have been difficult kind of walking into the example, like with the biggest grin on your face, having just signed like your professional contract, kind of sitting down for like an exam in a subject that you wouldn't particularly enjoy and just kind of went, well, I'll do my best, but I've got a pretty decent plan to go into from here.
Yeah, literally, like I said, I think it actually took more pressure off my A levels, and I was quite chilled going into them, unlike some of my friends.
Yeah, that's a nice little one-up to have, isn't it? Knowing that you've got that security of being able to give it all for your cricket career, and yeah, I guess what was probably a childhood dream becoming a reality, not having to worry too much about exams, which can obviously be really stressful as a 17-year-old, putting all of your thoughts and your energy into, yeah, I guess trying to do really well and get into uni or whatever the next kind of educational steps may be. But you're absolutely right in the fact that you were able to fully give your all to cricket last kind of from January, February, or whenever it was that contract became official and announced. Didn't go too bad for you, did it, really? As your first kind of full season as part of the senior team, had obviously been part of the Sunrisers Academy kind of prior to that and done really well at that level, dominated again as you had done throughout kind of county age group stuff for as long as I'd known you. And then you've come into the senior regional game and taken like a duck to water in that, in being named Sunrisers Player of the Year last year, after your performances kind of in the Rachel Hale Flint Trophy, taking wickets, scoring runs, really valuable runs, and obviously contributing towards that first win that we had down in Southampton, the first game of the season, our first ever win as a Sunrisers group in the Rachel Hale Flint Trophy, and you scored 69 of them against a really, really strong Vipers team that are obviously, we actually talk about them quite a lot when we're talking about women's cricket and domestic game on this podcast, because everyone knows how successful they've been under the leadership of Charlotte Edwards, and that team that they have is pretty stacked. And those England players were playing in that first game: Lauren Bell, Charlie Dean, Maya Boucher, Danny Wyatt. The names, you can keep reeling them off. But you obviously did really well in that first game, contributed to our win. How did that feel?
To be fair, like, just pride, a lot of pride. My dad was there watching the game as well, and obviously it's like my first game as a proper professional cricketer, and to like score 50 there was like a really like good moment, a really great feeling. And it was just like an all-round great team performance. And I remember the feeling in the dressing room afterwards, just when we sung the team song. Yeah, we just, and also like you said, Vipers were absolutely stacked that day, and to do it the way we did, it just kind of showed how far we come already. And even though it was like my third game. I still felt like I played a big part through the winter, and yeah, just more excited for the season and ultimately like where we are.
Did the team song come out yesterday when you and the Diamonds were kind of sharing the makeshift changing rooms in the Curo Wealth Lounge, or was that held back for another day? Because I really enjoy the cricket kind of team song. I don't have one at my club, but obviously like Durham's is pretty elite. Lancashire's is terrible, but they make a lot of noise. And I mean, Northants, unfortunately, haven't really heard it enough over the last year and a half. But is that something that you do if you're kind of in a makeshift changing room yesterday, or is it something that you kind of go, oh, do you know what? Maybe we won't rub salt into the wounds.
No, we did.
Okay, good.
I don't like, they kind of left for the first part and then we left for the second part so they could do their talk. But yeah, we did the song. And it's improved a lot, I can say.
What, the song
Yeah.
or the singing?
Both.
Both, okay. Is it the classic kind of I don't know what the technical term is, bashing, knocking on the floor along with the team song? Is that included in the Sunrisers camp?
Yeah, it was, but in the Curo Lounge, it was a little bit difficult to kind of get any sort of noise going on. There's only so many times you can bang a bat on a carpet floor to try and eke some sound out of it before you're realising that they're probably doing more damage to your bat than you'd like. There were a few pad slaps on the wall, but yeah, it was quite difficult in there to get any kind of momentum. Whereas at Arundel last week, it was quite a small space, hard walls, nice floor to bang your bat on or whatever it is. It was a good one. It was a very, very good one last week at Arundel. But yeah, yesterday was still obviously good. I don't think the Diamonds heard too much of it.
That's such a pro cricket thing, isn't it? Like, you've just gone, oh, the floor was a bit soft for me to whack my cricket bat against. Like, you've got all these clubbies rocking around kind of going, oh, cricket bats are so expensive at the moment, how can I really? And then you lot are there just like whacking them against concrete floors and wooden walls and things like that, just to make some noise.
Yeah, it's a bit of a flex, isn't it? It is a little bit of a low-key flex, but you've got to celebrate the wins when they come, and that's something that we've kind of made an important point of ensuring that we do celebrate the wins and the positives and the successful parts, whether that's for an individual like Amara Carr, who made her 50th appearance for Sunrisers yesterday, and Grace obviously seeing us over the line, and JODI's numerous performances with both bat and ball that we've had, and the team wins are obviously a big part of that.
So talk to us about Sri Lanka. Those numerous performances in a Sunrisers shirt got you that England under-19 call up to Sri Lanka. How was that? Was that a phone call? Was it how did that come through? Where were you? Do you remember when you got the nod that you were going off to Sri Lanka with England?
So to start with, we obviously had the training squad announced at the end of the season, which came through Sunrisers, so they contacted me, and then we found out 3 weeks before the tour, the tour squad, and that came through. You could either opt to have an email or a phone call. So I had a phone call. Yeah, but again, just a great feeling to know you're actually going on the tour, and then just pure excitement. And yeah, it was just such a good experience out there.
It's a stunning country. I have looked through the scorecards, and you did go slightly better at Gaul than what I managed on my one appearance with the bat in Gaul, but we don't want to talk about that. Talk us through it though. How was it? You played Australia and Sri Lanka in some T20s and some ODIs. How were you when you got out there? Were you nervous about the opportunity? And if you were, then kind of how do you reflect back on it now as to kind of how you did, or were you kind of just so up for the challenge? What were you thinking when you stepped off the plane? Obviously, apart from the fact that it is hotter than what it was than the country that you left in.
I wasn't too nervous. I think I viewed it more as an opportunity, and just tried to embrace all of it, whether it's the cricket, the culture. I'd never been there before, or anywhere like that. So it was just a really good like total experience. And then I probably only felt nervous before my debut. So I made my debut against Australia in the first game. But once I got on the pitch, I was fine, and it was more like, for saying like we hadn't played on like grass in England yet. So it was like a pre-season thing still. So just kind of like testing my skills, like everything I'd built up at Sunrisers and during the camps, and also like playing with a great group of girls. I think I only knew 2 of them before, so like getting to know them on and off the pitch as well. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I remember having a flick at one of the scorecards on like MV Play or whatever it was, and seeing you take, like, obviously seeing you'd made your debut, and then half an hour later you've taken this incredible diving catch, diving forward at, was it mid-on or mid-off?
Yeah, I was at mid-off.
And just seeing a flying Jodie salmoning through the air in an England shirt was just like a real proud moment for myself, and I'm sure a few of the other Sunrisers girls, seeing you like reap all the rewards of the hard work that we see behind the scenes, and you just being able to go out there and express yourself and back yourself in both formats of the game. You also had a chance to captain as well, didn't you, towards the back end of the tour, because Josie Groves, fellow Northamptonshire teammate, picked up a bit of an injury, didn't she? So what was that like?
Yeah, really cool. Obviously it was unfortunate for Jose. Like you said, know her like really well from Northants days. But obviously I was grateful for the opportunity to captain in the last game. It was really cool. Just a bit stressful, and like getting to know, like I said, I didn't know the players too well. But yeah, I loved it again, and just more experience to like take forward, and lots of learning.
There's a question that's coming up about kind of your future ambitions and career aspirations, and I'm not going to ask you the rhetoric of, I bet you'd like to play for England again, because that's a silly question to ask. But the captaincy side of things, is that something that you enjoyed and would look to kind of do going forwards? Appreciate you got a pretty young skipper at the Sunrisers at the moment anyway, but is it something that you'd like to do if the opportunity kind of arose at some point?
I haven't really thought about it too much. I think it's something I would like to develop more, is like my leadership skills. And I think at the minute, I feel like in a good place to offer things on the pitch. But I think just getting like more experience, like whether it's opportunities to captain in like second 11 stuff, or just more opportunities to develop those skills, it might be something that I'd be interested in doing down the line probably.
And Joe, I'm going to jump ahead of you, because I feel like the next kind of paragraph of stuff with regards to second full year and all the notes and the statistics and everything, that's definitely your thing, and I can't steal it from you. When you came back from Sri Lanka, had that changed your kind of outlook at all? Had it changed kind of what your goal setting might have been for 2024 as a summer? Did it move the goalpost a little bit, or was it just kind of a back to the Sunrisers, head down, get on with it again?
Yeah, not too much change. I think my main goal is just to contribute to Sunrisers, like with both bat and ball, and just help the team and ultimately like make those finals days, which we've kind of had as like our team goal for this year. But I would say I just took a lot of confidence out of Sri Lanka, and it kind of put me in like a really good place going into the summer.
Yeah, that's something that I've seen you kind of develop in leaps and bounds, having been in an environment to train alongside you, whereas when I kind of tracked your progress growing up, I was more on like the observing side rather than being like a peer in that sense. And seeing how hard you work and how much more confident and comfortable you are in the environment within yourself is something that I've seen grow in leaps and bounds in you over the past kind of couple of years. You're such a bubbly, confident character, and that's kind of been reflective of your performances on the pitch as well, and kind of how you've settled into senior regional cricket. And yeah, like as we've already alluded to, you're only in your second full season as a Sunrisers professional, and at 19 years old, like what you've already achieved for us as Sunrisers has been phenomenal, really. You've got such a crucial role to play with both bat and ball. Scrivs always relying on you to bowl your full allocation, and you've obviously had a decent role in the 50 over stuff as well as the T20s this year, which you weren't not selected for. It was more Andy allowing you to have your full focus on your exams last year, wasn't it? But yeah. I'm sure you were disappointed not to be involved in any of those games last year, because I know the kind of person you are. So it's been brilliant to see how you've excelled, more so with the ball in the Charlotte Edwards Cup. Obviously yesterday we saw you come in and have a proper momentous knock, as well as last week at Arundel. But yeah, some stats. I was doing a bit of research. I know how economical you are with the ball, and people really struggle to hit any boundaries off you, that's for sure. You offer a lot of control in the middle overs, and more recently we've seen in the power play as well. So in the Charlotte Edwards Cup, you've got the 5th best economy in the country at under 5 and over, 4.94. And then in the Rachel Hare Flint Trophy, 2nd in the country at only 3.3 runs and over. And the only person ahead of you is Sophie Eccleston. And she's not too bad, I don't think. I think she goes all right as it goes. But yeah, obviously with that, and it only being your 2nd year, do you feel any like pressure on yourself to perform, knowing that you actually do have a massive role despite being so young? And how do you have any kind of like psychological mechanisms or structures or strategies that help you on a game-to-game basis?
Yeah, I think I would say probably last year I put more pressure on myself. And I've spoke to obviously Kate, who's our psych, about expectation from last year going into this year. And I think that's kind of helped quite a lot. I'm just kind of focusing on the processes, and I know if I do them right, I can't be too disheartened. We all know that cricket is a bit of a brutal game. I know more got out first ball against Storm. Yeah, we all have those moments. It humbles you, and it's just about not getting too low and not getting too high. I think I do see myself as quite level-headed, and I just try to get on with it and reflect well, and then just move on to the next game. And it's quite nice because the games come thick and fast, and you don't have time to just dwell. You just get on with it and get up and go again.
That's another kind of indication, isn't it, as how much and how quickly the game has changed for women and girls in the UK. You're playing more cricket this year than what you ever would have played before. As you said, you don't really get an opportunity to kind of dwell on a situation. I mean, if you did, you'd be carrying a lot of baggage through because you'd be playing again the next day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Andy's quite big on that as well. Say if we have a tough day at the office, he's just we don't have time to dwell, pick ourselves up, go again. And yeah, we all do. We all go with that mindset.
How are you both generally finding all the extra fixtures and all the extra travel and the nights in the hotels and the hours in the car or on the buses?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time in our cars, don't we, Biz? Certainly been north of the region and having to travel a little bit more than some of the other girls for training and stuff like that. You get pretty used to sitting in your car, driving up and down the M1, getting on the odd bus or train, depending on the mode of transport to games and stuff. It's first and foremost, it's brilliant that we have extra fixtures. I think it's something that we as players have kind of been chomping at the bit for in the last couple of years. So we definitely can't complain on that front. We just want as many opportunities to be able to go out on the pitch and showcase our skill sets, both as a team and individually, as many times as we can, while appreciating that, yes, it can be quite a busy schedule. So it's really important to kind of make sure you manage yourself and get a bit of time on your own to reflect and be in a really healthy and strong position to the next day in training or when the next game comes around, you're in a good spot to be able to go out and perform at the best of your ability at 100%.
Would you say obviously you've played more cricket than Jodie, and you've had the benefit of having 3 years in the 100 as well. Possibly not at that scale, is it, with the travel involved and the logistics of it? But is it a lot closer to what you've experienced there than what you have had so far as kind of a domestic full-time professional in the UK?
Yeah, 100%. I think the 100's a little bit shorter in kind of competition span this year, so it'll probably feel even more jam-packed than normal. But yeah, it certainly is a bit more reflective of kind of what that's like, I guess, without the added extra hype that comes with the 100 and the media coverage and the facilities and venues that you're using. But definitely in that kind of schedule sense, it does feel like it is a lot more towards what the 100 is like than it has been in previous years. And I know that the 100 is a competition that I'd like to say 99% of the domestic girls that are involved in it really, really enjoy, and just gives that extra glimpse of what it's like to the next level in domestic cricket, really. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing having more fixtures and being able to play more, I would say.
Is that the next thing on your to-do list, Jodie?
Yeah, I'd love to be involved in it.
You've got a chance. Obviously, the draft's coming up at the end of this month. What is it? 3 weeks' time. As we've mentioned, how economical you are in the CC. I'm sure that there are a few coaches who have got you in their notebooks, no doubt. And I'm absolutely backing that you could be in and amongst one of those players that does get picked up. So we're absolutely rooting for you in that sense. Are there any other? Obviously, Dan said silly to ask the question, do you want to play for England? I'm absolutely certain you're going to say yes. You're not going to turn around and say no, are you? But I guess in the shorter term, so maybe like the next year to 2 years, is there any other things other than obviously getting involved with the 100 that you particularly have outlined as something you want to achieve?
Like I mentioned about, my main thing is just having a good season at Sunrisers. I think trying not to get too ahead of myself and knowing if I put performances in on the pitch, then good things will come off that. Obviously being involved in the 19 stuff, the next step is looking to get involved in England A. But yeah, just hoping if it happens, it happens. It'll be off the back of my performances. So yeah, just going with the flow.
Bit of WBBL, bit of Caribbean Premier League, bit of WPL as well, kind of thrown in the mix now as well. So yeah, there's so many kind of options and so many opportunities now that are available to you. Obviously, if you keep performing the way you do. So I think, Joe, I completely agree. Get Jodie in the 100. Surely there's a wild card spot there. Just sign her up. It just makes sense, doesn't it? What would you say kind of your 3 kind of proudest moments of your career have been so far?
I think, like we mentioned, the 50 at Southampton on the first game and topping it off with the win, that was a really good day. Making my debut for the 19s, again, just a really cool moment. And I think this year, I'd say when I got 50 against Vipers, that's probably the most comfortable and the best I felt with the bat in regional cricket. And I think I was just quite proud of how I went about my game that day. And yeah, hopefully some more good moments coming this year and some more Sunnies wins.
Next question's about coffee, Joe. This is all on you.
Yeah, I guess just a bit more of a light-hearted one. We're always talking about food, aren't we, Biz? We're sending each other photos of our rogue meals that we make. Jodie's actually been graduating coffee school in the past year as well. She wasn't a big coffee drinker, but then now I see she's ordering flat whites and the lot. So she'll be on double espressos before you know it. Absolutely no doubt in that.
As Joe said, I've graduated.
Dan's not a big coffee drinker, so any coffee chat is just totally wasted on him, which is a real shame. If you had to pick your ideal game day breakfast, what would it be?
Right. At the minute, obviously, like we said, we're on the road a lot, not usually at home, usually in a hotel. I go for some granola, some yogurt, usually little berry compote, whatever's kicking about. Then have that, go back, 2 hash browns, 2 rashers of bacon, have that as well. Then when we get to the ground, maybe a banana, or, as you've seen, Joe, my peanut butter bagel go-to. So that is it at the minute. And it's going all right, so not changing it.
Sounds like a decent way to start the day, that.
Yeah, it's good because I used to not eat too much before games. I used to get a bit nervous. Whereas now, filling my boots.
Walking around with like an England kit bag, I mean, where's the nerves are just gone. The nerves are completely gone at this stage. There's another question here that Joe's prepared, and I kind of feel this is something that Joe, you need to ask, because if you two have kind of spent time together in a confined space driving up and down the M1 between home and training, there's probably been a lot of things been spoken about. And actually, I feel if I ask it, Jodi gets away with a really easy kind of answer here, because there'll be a lot that I don't know about Jodi GREWCOCK. So hit it, Joe. Get some kind of inside info.
Yeah, so the final kind of question that I had prepared was, what if you can just give us an insight into what Jodi GREWCOCK does away from the cricket environment. Now, I know a couple of things that you enjoy doing in your spare time, but
golf,
the listeners
probably.
And Dan might not. So yeah, talk to us about what you do on your days off or in your spare time and whatever it is that you get up to.
Right, a big one is I'm a big Villa fan, and Joe will know this better than anyone. We listen to the Rest Is Football podcast in the car down the M1. Yeah, watch a lot of football, really enjoy it. And then other than that, bit of open water swimming, that's the rogue one. Bit of normal swimming indoors. Love to go just like walking. I saw like you went up to the Peak District, Dan. I've been up there a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of chilled stuff.
So you're wandering through the countryside, having a nice kind of walk with your friends or family or whatever, and you just see kind of a swimmable puddle or lake or stream or something, and you're just wandering along, and you just go, "Oh, Mum, just 1 sec. I'm just going to dive head first here and just do a couple of lengths up and down the stream."
Well, it's got a bit of a backstory. My auntie, she'll swim anywhere. I'm not gonna lie. She is exactly that person. She sees a lake, she's in there. She tells me whenever she goes on a walk, she takes her swimming costume just in case.
Oh my word.
So yeah, she actually goes to this. It's an old quarry, and like it's actually like made for swimming and like diving. And she just said, "Do you want to come along?" This was probably in December last year, in the winter. It was freezing.
When you said yes,
I did say yes. I thought I'll give it a go.
I mean, if it was July, Jodi, I could kind of see it, but come on, like December.
Yeah, and she said, "I'll give you all the gear, wetsuit, thermal cap, everything." Yeah, the water was 6 degrees when we went in. But yeah, I've been probably 4 or 5 times since. But yes, it's funny.
That's elite. That's such a different answer to just golf.
Yeah, golf's not a bit of me.
You haven't graduated golf school yet, then?
No, I've only got the over extra cover in golf, the slice.
It's an underrated shot. I mean, it's transferable. It's a transferable skill, which I think is important.
It is indeed.
Well, Joe, have you got anything more up your sleeve that you want to fire Jodie's way, or do you feel like she sweated enough there answering the open water swimming question?
That was exactly what I wanted to tease out of her, but when I asked that question, so I'm so pleased that you told that story, Biz, because you are an absolute animal. I remember you coming into training being like, yep, so went open water swimming with my auntie on my day off. I was like, you are nuts. And you were in the water. How long were you in the water for on one of them? Ages, wasn't it?
Yeah. Last time we went probably 40 minutes. Like,
it's just unbelievable, isn't it?
I had a bit of a mare last time. My thermal socks fell off, didn't they? Halfway round. I couldn't get them back on.
And cold feet is just not ideal. Not ideal when it's 6 degrees in the water either. That is for sure.
Not ideal.
No. It does sound like quite an enjoyable experience, like in June, July, August.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about the rest of it.
Yeah, no wetsuit, just swimming costume.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe I'll stick a pair of swimming shorts in my bag when I go wandering around like the countryside next. I'll feed back. There aren't too many quarries or lakes. Well, no, there are a few around here, but not many that you'd walk around, to be fair. But if I decide to dive in, you'll be the first person I kind of let know.
Okay, brilliant. Let me know.
I will. Right. Joe, Jodie, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's been a good chat. It's been good to get to know you. Good luck for the rest of the summer. Hopefully there's a wild card pick for you just around the corner. And obviously, Joe, good luck to yourself as well with more Charlotte Edwards Cup. I'll be there. I'll be in the President's Suite on Thursday, cheering you on.
Nice.
I'll be. I don't know what I'm allowed to do in the President's Suite. I might be able to clap gently or something, but I won't get too hyped up. Otherwise, I'll get kicked out.
Yeah, no abuse, please.
No, definitely not. Right. Good luck. Go well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, both.